to Mac and Blue, where we introduce you to who is building Arizona, bringing you the people and businesses that shape the landscape around us. From economic development and developers, underwriters and lenders, architects and engineers, to the very builders and suppliers that bring it all together. Now let's join our hosts, Robert Johnson and JJ Levensky, aka Mac and Blue.
Welcome to Mac and Blue. Wow, that was fun. We went right into that. So yeah, I was turning volume down and doing other things. I'm Robert Johnson.
He's my multitasking co-host that's failing miserably.
that almost it was horrible. I am Robert Johnson, I think. Vice President Business Development with Torrey Contracting. This guy who feels the need to comment on and point out everything that's wrong with me today.
Only because I love you.
And well, he's kind of been that way with everybody, except our guest. But he's JJ Levensky, who is the president of who's with us, president of Blue Wave General Contracting. We made it. I mean, is it?
I don't know if we're gonna make it through this hour.
Is it over yet? How are you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. You?
Yeah, I'm doing well. Although it doesn't appear to be that way.
Changing weather, we're all uplifted.
Yeah, it really is nice weather. We were just talking about that. Daryl, our producer, you said you went home and walked the dog because the weather was so good?
Yeah, literally at about, 11 o'clock this morning.
Oh,
it was
of course.
Amazing.
Yeah, you only got up at 8. So, I mean, we just had that discussion. Thanks, Daryl. And you had something else you were going to say?
Because it would just have been
totally derail this thing.
Exactly.
And our guest today is Cindy Gutierrez, who is the director of CTE,
which stands
Program
for
Services. We'll get into that in a second. She was looking at me like, say it. CTE Program Services with the Arizona Department of Education.
Yes.
Welcome.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me today.
You're absolutely welcome. If you were nervous before, you are terribly nervous now because she's thinking, I'll never get through this.
Well, I got in a studio with two goofballs.
Two goofballs, and she can't be. We've had that. That's a very that's a secret that we can't share with anybody else. But tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Wow, where do I start? So I do work for the Arizona Department of Education in the Career and Technical Education Unit.
She covered it. Say it one more time.
Arizona Department of Education in the Career and Technical Education Unit.
Okay.
So, and I serve as the director for the CTE Program Services team. So I have about 7 specialists under me, and those specialists oversee all the CTE programs across the state. So before I came to the department, I was a teacher. So I taught, can I say where?
Sure, absolutely.
Right, in the Peoria School District.
Oh, everywhere but there. Oh,
no. I was at the Ironwood High School for 13 years. I taught, started out with drafting and the old woodworking, and took the program from woodworking to construction technologies. I also did internships, and I did internships for every student that wanted to do an internship on campus. So it was
internship. Explain that. What they did an internship in
whatever CTE program that they had gone through. We tried to connect them with business and industry people.
Yeah,
go out and they had to work out in industry, or kind of
sure
be out there doing small things. But for about 120 hours, it was a semester-long course. Part of their CTE programs, it was for seniors, getting them ready for the next step, whatever they were going to do once they graduated.
Awesome.
So it was the best. I loved doing that.
Do they still do that?
Yes.
Is it up to the individual schools to do that? Or is that part of your program?
That's part of our program.
Okay.
Is having some type of, it's called work-based learning. Internship is one type. They have cooperative education. For like healthcare, it's clinicals. Students go into different medical facilities and do clinicals. So yes, it's a part of the program.
Interesting.
And so I did that for probably about 10 years. So it was one of the best parts, because again, connecting those students to industry, and their they just light up when they can see that they can do something.
Yeah, it is. I'll have to admit that's one of the most rewarding parts of working with the students and the CTE program, which we've discussed a little bit about me doing so in the past.
Because you,
Mhm.
Robert, you, excuse me, you've been actively involved, correct?
I have been. I have not been in the last several months, but was up until then. I was, and that's one of the things we talked about was specifically with Buckeye Independent School District and a couple of the high schools there. But yeah, and in relation to Dawn Rogers, a previous guest, and others. But yeah, man, it is just so cool to work with the kids.
They're smart. It's like they're always smarter than
Very
us.
smart, very smart.
So Cindy, then after your teaching tenure, then did the, I know it's all this, did the state recruit you away, or how did that transition go?
I had a good friend of mine who was working at the state at the time,
Yeah.
and just kind of gave me the information, said, hey, this position's going to open.
Oh,
It wasn't the director position. It was as a program specialist
Oh.
for the construction trades. So coming from teaching it to overseeing all the state programs in the construction area. I also oversaw all the automotive and related programs at that time.
Very interesting. So you sound like you have some trade, or at least a love for the trades in your background. Drafting, woodworking, carpentry. So how did that come about? What got you into that?
I'll add to that.
Okay.
I'm actually an Aggie.
Oh no. You don't
Yeah.
know where I'm from, do you?
No, I don't.
Okay.
can't you tell it in his accent?
I'll just say it's Austin, and we'll
Yeah, he's
we'll
lying. It's
leave it.
like the bayous of Louisiana.
No, we'll leave it at that. But no, if you don't, do you know what an Aggie is? Okay, yeah. So you'll have to educate him.
Somebody that's very passionate about agriculture. And actually, I went to U of A. And
Oh, so
got
I had it
Aggie.
wrong.
Oh,
I
it's
had it wrong.
Not that Aggie.
I
it's-
thought she was talking about one from Texas A&M University.
No,
Okay,
I knew
man.
what she was talking about.
Oh, I
That
didn't.
could be the
Oh
second
my
one.
goodness.
U of A. Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm an agriculture.
So you're from U of A.
I went to U of A.
Okay.
Mhm. I
Okay.
also went to
That's-
NAU.
Okay, that's a step
So-
up from Texas A&M.
All she has
So.
to do is her doctorate at GCU, and we've got an ASU, and we've got a completion.
Yeah.
I could consider GCU.
There you go.
So anyhow, back to
Yes,
your
okay.
question was
The one about, well, I think my question was about how you got into
Right.
that, what
into
pushed you into that
position.
trade piece of it. Yeah.
So again, with my background, going to U of A in
Mhm.
agriculture, and it was for teaching. So I got into teaching at the time. The position that was open was an industrial trades teacher.
Hmm.
So my ag background, I knew how to weld and how to do some plumbing and a lot of hands-on stuff. So I went right into there, and
But was that from your upbringing and your family?
yes, that too.
Okay.
So yes,
It had to be
definitely.
more than just college.
Oh yes, yes. So both of my parents very involved in kind of trades and stuff. My dad was a carpenter in the valley for a lot of years. Built a lot of the homes. Oh gosh, West Valley, Sun Lakes area.
Mhm.
So learning some of the trade skills from him. My mom, she did a lot of different types of jobs. She worked for the school district, but she was always the finisher. My dad would build something and she would do all the finish work. So,
Wow.
just very tedious, lay things out real nice and smooth, all the
Fascinating.
finish.
So it was a good spot for you.
Yes, yes. So, and I had this love for animals. That's
Sure.
the agriculture background. We raised farm animals. So it just kind of led me to pursue that career in agriculture, but specifically in teaching.
So then, after the program director, or how did you describe that, from the program manager to the director?
So pretty much program specialist, oversaw the programs. I did that for about 3 years. And then the director position came open and I applied for it and got the director position.
Ah,
So now I have all those people that are the program specialists under me.
nice.
Very interesting. Okay, I'm going to have to say this. I can't hear a thing, Daryl. So I can hear, but I might as well take these off. So we'll get that out of the way while he works on it. Okay, go ahead.
No, you go next.
Okay, so CTE, we talked a little bit about what CTE is. So what are the goals of the CTE program? What is it that it's about?
Okay, so CTE is career and technical
Mhm.
education. And I'll use this bad word only once. It used to be the old vocational.
Okay.
So a lot of people think that those programs have gone away. No, we just changed names probably about 30 years ago. And it's career and technical
Shows you how old we
education.
are.
When you said vocational, I'm like,
Thanks-
yeah, I
thanks,
remember that.
thanks,
I absolutely
Cindy.
remember that.
I'm
all the
kind of in that
all the
category.
millennials are going, well, we got 3 old people on the
Yeah,
podcast.
it was great.
So, career and technical education.
Mhm.
So it's an educational opportunity that provides learners with the knowledge, skills, and experiences to be ready for a career. And it's based on entry level skills. We get information from business and industry partners. So we bring them in. They help us to develop our technical skills, the standards for every program. And it's again based on business and industry, what they need for an entry level employee. So
Is it actually like a committee or a board, or how does it work?
it's by each program that we bring in those industry partners. So my program specialist, they work with another team in our CTE unit. It's the technical skills and assessments team. So bringing in those individuals for a specific program like construction technology.
Right.
So we bring in the construction specialist, which I'll probably put your name on that list too.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. Bring them in, have them look at, what our current program looks like. They look at those technical skills and see if there's something that is missing because, technology always changes. We want to keep up with what's new and help us to rewrite or write new skills that we need to teach in those programs.
How often? Well, that brings up a really good question. How often are you changing? Because I'm going to lead you down this path a little bit. Because I think of a regular curriculum, like math, science, social studies, those kind of things. I would think that in your role and in this field, you guys change much quicker and much faster than the rest of the traditional educational models or what I'm trying to, paradigms, if you will.
Right.
Is that a true assessment and question, or does it not change that rapidly?
Say yes, that could be. So a lot of our programs will review the standards every 3 to 5 years.
3 to 5, okay.
Yeah. So we have programs like software and app development. Those get looked at probably a little more often because, again, technology changes.
Yeah.
And we want to make sure that our teachers have the standards to teach the students, and then the students are getting what's the most current.
So, what I love about this is that so you have we've talked about this is something that we talk about obviously in the construction world is the shortage of skilled workers in the workforce. And this is one of the aspects of, and I don't know if this is specific to the program. The couple of places that I had been, it was in that they developed a program for the kids that didn't want to go to college, for those kids that want to do something else. Because I had Mike mention to me that for years, and I'm not mentioning his last name on purpose, by the way, but mentioned to me for years, the school pushed, you need to go to college, you need to go to college, you need to go to college, and they won. And everybody was going to college, and now we've got this world where we don't have skilled workers. So they're doing things now to kind of re-up this program, and kids are finding that this is something that they want to get into. Is that some of the impetus of this program? I mean, is that some of the reasoning behind?
Well, it's not an either or anymore. It's here's your career path that you're starting in high school, and here's all the multiple ways that you can get to whatever your goal is. So and we know in this day and age, it's almost always continuous education. No matter if you go right into higher education, or if you're going into the workforce, you're going to still have to do some type of education, apprenticeships. You're going to school and you're learning your skills and you're working all at the same time. So with career and technical education, it's helping those students to prepare for whatever it is that they want to do beyond high school. and leading them possibly to community college programs.
Sure.
So we have CTE at the community college level as well. And they really get into what's needed by the business and industry for that local area, into really in depth. They do a lot of the apprenticeship training
Sure.
for the apprenticeship programs. So it's the mindset. It's either you're going one way or the other. It's not that anymore. So we focus on, here's the many things that you can do if you're seeking construction. You can start at being work there as entry level laboring, maybe get into the apprenticeship. If you want to continue your education, get into management, project managers, things like that. So it's multiple layers, multiple pathways in and out. They can enter and exit that career any place.
Interesting.
Cindy, one thing I was thinking about is, you said you cover the whole state.
Yes.
How, if we take the Valley, how is your job and how is what you guys are doing different here in the Valley versus in all the other outlying, like rural, you know what I mean? Not rural, but not the metropolis that is Phoenix proper. How is your approach different, and how are you seeing? I think the audience would really like to know the differences of what that looks like.
Okay, so let me just say that we do have CTE and especially construction related programs across the entire state. There are some in
Are they
the
in
Valley.
every school?
We have over 120 school districts that have CTE programs, and most of those have some type of construction in them.
Interesting.
In the Valley, it's kind of in different areas depending on what the local economy dictates. But we do have a lot of great programs that are both in the Valley and spread way out. So the way that we handle it at the state level is we oversee all the programs and they have the same standards. What we try to do is help to connect our business industry partners that we know, and ask them to try to reach out to the rural areas outside of Phoenix, because those schools don't have that business partnership. They're out of way. Here in the Valley, we have a lot of resources that they don't have in the rural areas. So again, we try to encourage our business and industry to look outside of just, great state of Phoenix and think beyond, because a lot of those students that are graduating from those high schools may be coming to Phoenix. They might be going to Flagstaff, Tucson, across the whole state.
Sure.
So, they have basically the same skills as any other student that might be coming from the Valley or locally here.
How do you get participation, and or do you get participation from businesses, local businesses, or general contractors, subcontractors, and so forth?
We do. So at the state level, we have what's called the CTE Quality Commission. It's made up of business and industry people, educators, and they help direct our CTE programs from the state level. They vote on and allow us to do certain things, at the state level. So again, it's run by an industry person and co-chaired by our state superintendent, Kathy Hoffman. We have also at the state level, each of my program specialists have a state advisory council for the group of programs that they oversee. So again, construction and related programs, we have an advisory council for that, where many of our business partners, they come in, meet with us, look at our standards, suggest what we need to change. They provide, or they actually serve as judges for some of the competitions. And I can get into CTSOs in a little bit too. Where was I going with this? So there's a lot of business and industry involvement. When you get to the local level, like you said, you were out in Buckeye, they have local advisory councils. So again, it's
I participated in one of those.
okay. So business and industry is involved, and they're a key part of all of career and technical education, because we're teaching students in order for them to be into your workforce. So we have a lot of business and industry partners.
Awesome. Okay, let's get a word from our sponsor, and we'll be right back.
Torrey Contracting, your full-service Division 9 contractor. Torrey Contracting operates with a smaller, hands-on team. This cohesive structure results in superior workmanship and economical solutions. We deliver projects with unsurpassed commitment to quality and stewardship of budget. Torrey Contracting, small enough to listen, big enough to deliver.
Okay. So how does Mike, did you have a question before I go to the next one?
No,
Go ahead,
you-
please.
You have the floor. The esteemed, how do they do that with the legislative? My esteemed
My
colleague from the
distinguished
state
colleague
of
or whatever it is.
whatever has the floor.
I was just going to ask this next question about how does the career and technical education prepare students and benefit the workforce? I mean, and I don't know if those read the bio, some of the information that I posted on LinkedIn. I mean, there's I'm going to use the word that I don't ever get to use, a plethora of classes,
spell that.
welding. yeah, I've used up. Now I'm as dumb as a box of rocks the rest of the program. Of classes, welding, all kinds of things that I had no idea that it got into all of that. But how does CTE help prepare those students for those kinds of things?
Well, in my opinion, it's the best model of education because it takes students in their classroom learning the theory. So, all the book work and
Mhm.
everything related to a career. Then they go into a lab or they use a lab setting and they practice the skills. So they're learning this is what it is. They're going out there and practicing those skills. Then they're applying those skills through like the internships,
Right.
work-based learning. Our rural communities, they do a lot of projects. So some construction programs are building a lot of sheds, selling them to the communities. And so they're involved with the business and industry that way. So it's applying that, and then it's connecting with those business and industry on what's the next step. So in the classroom, the students, CTE is a combination of everything. It's the technical skills that business industry want. It's the core academics. So we must integrate all the math, science, and
Sure.
language skills. It's also leadership development through career and technical student organizations, CTSOs. This is where the students learn leadership. They run business meetings. They organize events. They go to leadership conferences. They compete in local, state, and national competitions. And we have 8 of those CTSOs.
Building something or creating something.
Everything you can think of.
Interesting.
So for construction, the CTSO is Skills USA.
Okay.
So students in technical and trades and public service type careers, they belong to that organization. At their competition, they're doing whatever skill it is that the CTE program they went through. So
Whether it be carpentry or whatever.
right,
Okay.
cosmetology.
Cindy,
They
can you
have
back up? What is the CTSO acronym?
Career and Technical Student Organization.
Student organization.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yes.
I missed that.
Yeah, I didn't know
So-
either.
Yeah. So they are national organizations and they're all run by students.
Nice.
They're our leaders.
So could you, for the audience sake, could you give a more granular explanation of like one of those, you said the competitions that they're doing? Could you
Mhm.
go into one, maybe like thinking of Dawn, did you guys do one with the Masonry Council or something?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So at our State Skills USA competition, it's called our state championships. It's held down at the Phoenix Convention Center.
Yeah.
Yeah. At the convention center each year, usually in April. The Arizona Masonry Council, I want to say for probably the last 20 years, has been a sponsor of the masonry competition. So they provide judges, they set up the contest, they judge that contest and then choose the winner from that. But they bring in all their materials, and this is for one day.
Right.
So they bring in all the materials, provide the students with all the materials they need. The students have to bring their own tools from school.
Mhm.
They get about 6 hours to do a project. So they have to read the plans, lay out their project, finish it. It gets judged throughout that whole portion of the contest on safety and skills. And then when the contest is over, they have to clean up and help put everything away.
Is that on an individual or team basis?
That one is an individual.
Okay.
So we do have a team build contest which was sponsored and judged by McCarthy. At that
Thanks,
same
McCarthy.
Yes, thank you.
Yes, they incredible group. The team build is a team of 4 students, and they have to build kind of like a mock house. They get 2 days to do that. So it's the framing, it's the electrical, it's the plumbing, it's the masonry, it's the roofing. Four people, individuals, put that together, and they're judged on that.
Wow, that's impressive.
It
To do
is.
electrical.
I
and
vote you
plumbing.
become a judge, Robert.
You what?
I'm putting your name in for the next pool of judges.
No. Yeah, that's fascinating. That
It is.
um,
So, and I know we're focusing kind of on the construction.
Sure.
So, of course, we have that team build. We have masonry. We have a plumbing competition, electrical competition, carpentry.
all at the CTO at these finals that you
At
mentioned.
the championships,
Yeah,
yes. Also, again, it's all the trades and technical areas. So we have a fire service competition, cosmetology. We have welding, huge welding. It's not done at that site, but it's a huge welding competition as well. Any of our CTE programs that fall under the technical and trades, they would pretty much have a competition to go to there. So again, the students are able to apply what they've learned in the classroom.
So if I, and forgive my naivety in this question and statement, so as we've started this dialogue and this conversation, it feels like we've been focusing on the high school, but you said you actually helped transition that to the next level. Is that correct? So am I hearing that you actually stay involved with, and if I'm saying the wrong names, I ask for forgiveness ahead of time, but you said you're working with the community colleges. Does that include like the EVITs and those kind of things, or other specialty state agencies or educational platforms? Like, did I miss that in your explanation, Cindy?
Just a little bit, maybe.
Okay.
So you mentioned EVIT.
Right.
EVIT is a career and technical education district.
Right.
So we call them a CTED. Oh yeah, all these are acronyms.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
If you work for the state, apparently you have to have a master's in acronyms.
Yes. Yes. So EVIT is in the East Valley, WestMec, Western Maricopa Education. So they're
I never realized that the East and West in their names. I mean, I knew it, but when I was like, oh, well,
East and
that
West.
makes sense. Yeah.
So they're
Even a blind
again,
squirrel finds a nut. Robert.
Every once in a while. Yeah.
So they are the CTEDs. They are like a joint overlay district, and then any of the local school districts can belong to them. So students in those local districts can go to EVIT or WestMec for specialized CTE programs, because CTE is not necessarily inexpensive. It could be expensive, and the CTEDs have a lot more funding and can offer some really outstanding opportunities for students. Aircraft maintenance. Can you imagine a high school student working on aircraft?
Yeah,
So
painting, yes, all that stuff.
So,
but you
avionics.
did mention I thought you mentioned other colleges as well.
So yes, back to the community colleges. So at the state level, we oversee the grants, the federal Perkins money for CTE, and that includes a certain percentage that go to community colleges. So we don't necessarily oversee those programs, but we help, get funding to them so they can offer career and technical education programs. But the CTEDs and the community colleges work very close together, because the CTEDs can pay for students to go to the community college for more CTE programs.
Wow, it's much more extensive than I ever imagined.
So,
and nobody knows about CTE.
So are we talking scholarships and grants?
We're talking not necessarily scholarships and grants. These are high school students that can utilize the CTED funding to go to a community college while they're still in high school.
That's the clarification I needed. Thank you.
While they are still in high school.
Thank you, Cindy, because that really helps me understand.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, let's say they leave high school and go to XYZ, then do you guys still have oversight in anything in their transition there?
No, not necessarily.
Then they're on their own after that.
Yeah, once they're graduated from high school. But then, if they're going into a CTE program at the community college, then if they've already been going there, they've got that connection already.
Do they obtain, I mean, there's obviously some system in place that these young people and the high schools can get into EVIT, West Mac, and these places? They have to be recommended by a teacher.
I believe most of the CTEDs have an application.
Okay. So there's a
So
process. That they
yeah,
would-
so the CTEDs have career counselors that work with the school counselors to provide all the information the students would need in order to apply for a position, a spot in the CTED program. And that's usually done their sophomore year, because then they can go there their junior and senior year.
That makes sense.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I'd be remiss if I didn't ask this question. So we talked about your involvement in the independent school district, as we call them. Now, are you also involved? I assume private is on their own if it's like a private school, but the
Yes.
charter schools technically are still public. So are you working with a lot of charter schools as well?
Yes, we have quite a few charter schools that receive our federal funding
Right.
for career and technical education. So they've had gone through an approval process, which is based on our requirements in order to get those federal funds. I want to say right now we probably have 10 to 15 charter schools that have gone through the process, and we keep getting more.
Yeah, I would imagine.
Hmm.
I see. I'm in that business, so I think we're seeing a lot of the charters branch off into STEM and the CTEs type related. They're realizing that they can adapt quickly to the market demands. So I think I don't mean to sound like it's passing judgment on this dialogue here, but they just seem like they can ebb and flow a little bit quicker to respond to that supply and demand stuff with those kids. So I've seen it at our level, the granular level, coming from the other way. It's as a guy and we're passionate about why you're here, because if you go back to a bunch of our other podcasts, this has been a very high priority of how do we get our youth involved into what is the future of how we build our great nation and things like that. And so, yeah, I'm happy to see that it's kind of coming around, and let's be honest, the capitalist side of this is what's prevailing. I mean, when these youth can make X amount of dollars versus with no debt or very little debt compared to, I'm not, I've got a couple degrees and I'm not passing judgment on that, but I also look at my son right now who's in the military, and he's taking a completely different path, and he'll probably come out better than I did. And yet he went through a non-traditional path,
Right.
Much like this.
Right.
And so I think there's an answer for everyone.
Right.
Thanks for answering that one. Where was my other one? Again, Cindy, to just bring you up on a lot of the your predecessors that have been sat in that chair, and we talk about the ebb and flow of what's changing in the dynamic of our trade or our skilled workforce here in the Valley. The Intels, the TSMCs, and everything that's been changing in the dynamic of the Valley. Are you guys getting forced to change the oversight and the curriculum on that advisory level to adapt to how we're becoming like a manufacturing hub as well? Have you more specifically, have you been asked to alter any of the programs specifically for those kind of industries that are coming and staying here now?
So not specifically asked, but we do look at that. It's like, okay, what's new coming in that we might need to change our standards for our programs? Most of those business and industry are contacting their local school districts.
Oh,
and having conversations.
Starting
with,
these conversations. early.
Yes, absolutely, because of course they need that workforce too. And a lot of our school districts and our CTEDs do have a lot of those programs already in place, and maybe they need to change the structure just a little bit. But again, with our state standards, we don't try to change them too often, but we do want to make sure that we bring in those business partners, that they get their voices heard too on what they need for, again, we're basing on entry level
Right.
employment.
Now, and again, we're going to keep saying this over and over. I'm not going to say it. Are you involved in job placement or helping with job placement at all? Finding these, helping find.
Well,
these,
are you asking beyond the internships type thing?
No, I'm just talking about when they, if they show an interest, a true interest in the senior level of high school, if this is something they want to get into, is there a means to help them get into a specific company? Or
You mean like beyond a guidance counselor or something?
oh yeah,
like that?
yeah.
Okay.
I mean like a job.
That's a good question.
Yeah.
Cindy, is that part of your department?
So at our department level, Not necessarily, but at the local CTE teacher level. So it's those
There you go.
relationships that we try to encourage between the business and industry and those local CTE teachers, because they know their students, they know who's graduating, who wants to perhaps pursue construction. So that's really, right there, ground level. We need to have that input from business and industry. Again, making those relationships with the students in those programs, helping teachers with skill development. Our business and industry partners can come in. We try to stay away from guest speaking, but to actually teach the students. They're the experts, help provide
That's
those.
what I did.
Yeah,
I did
the
that.
experts.
You did the non-guest
I did
speaker.
the guest speaking stuff. I did not teach a thing. I just, I did
so
that. So
more of that hands-on, and as you're working with the students, teaching them those skills, you're talking with them, developing those relationships with the students, finding out what they want. I know, again, Arizona Masonry Council, they have a person that goes to the schools and does that training, and he goes around the entire state.
that's exactly what I was doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
2 to 3 weeks at each school. He teaches them the projects. Now they have a connection with him.
Right.
If they want to go into masonry, there they go.
So that's not a state-based thing. That is an individual school, local
Yes.
can, depending on how much interest they have, can help facilitate that or not, whichever the case may be.
At the state level, if we have a business person contact us, we're going to try to connect them with our local programs.
Gotcha.
In fact, last week I had a person call me up on the phone, remodeling company, wants to get involved with the local program, wants to start their own apprenticeship program. There's a lot going on. It's like, yes, reach out to us and we'll try to connect you with who's close to you, where we have our programs.
I was thinking of another question, Cindy, and that is, I don't know, Robert, I think it was earlier this summer, we had like Junior Achievement on. Do you work with other groups like that in the Valley? I know it's kind of different from, like a philanthropic group to where you're a true state agency or department, but are you working with other agencies or groups like that outside of, I guess what I'm trying to say is, where's the break between the groups like the Masonry Council versus other actual active groups that are trying to accomplish the same thing that you guys are? Is there any?
So we do work with a lot of different groups.
Okay.
Center for Future of Arizona, JFF, Jobs for the Future.
There you go.
SciTech went by with Daryl.
Yep.
Because SciTech's here. It's like, yes, one of my program specialists who oversees all the engineering and information technology works with the SciTech. We also work with the Office of Economic Opportunity, Arizona Commerce Authority, partnering for different things that we have. So yes, we work with a lot of them. Of different groups.
You answered that brilliantly, because I just wanted the audience to hear some of the names that you're working with so they understand the time.
You would have thought we'd have slipped through a piece of paper and said, read these names. You did. It was excellent. Okay, Daryl, let's have a word from our sponsor.
There comes a time when dreams become a reality, when you see your vision materialize into a true work of art. And the only way to get there is to choose a general contractor who shares that same vision and knows how to bring it to life. At Blue Wave, we aren't so big that we've forgotten where we've come from, and we aren't so small that we can't care for your projects regardless of their size. When your vision deserves safety, perfection, timeliness, and expertise in order to become a reality, trust Blue Wave to get it done right the first time.
So we're going to finish strong here.
I want to take a quiz on all the acronyms we learned today.
Don't you dare.
Cindy, drill them right now.
Yeah, CTSO, CTED, C, whatever. I mean, my goodness. Yeah, my head's still going. November 21, you received an award, Visionary Leadership Award, recognition of your support and partnership with Arizona Construction Career Days.
Yes.
I wanted to not only say good for you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Arizona Construction Career Days. What is it and when is it?
So the Arizona Construction Career Days, it's a huge 2-day event where business and industry bring in equipment and all their people to talk with high school students about construction technologies, construction careers. Students get a chance to do hands-on, so they can play with the machines, virtual, do some welding, all kinds of stuff. It's been going on for, I think this is going to be year 22. And Roseanne Canizales, who is the president of the Arizona Construction Development, she organizes all this and has been very passionate about it. I think she was in industry for a while before her current position. But again, it brings in all those business and industry people. The students need to see what's available out there, and again, get that one-on-one contact with the industry folks.
So are they made aware of it through their CTEs, and then so they can opt in or opt out. I mean,
Yes.
with 120 districts, that's a lot of people to potentially invite. So
we partner with them, and we
Okay.
co-sponsor that event. So we get information from them, send it out to all our districts, and they share it with their CTE teachers. They share it with their counselors. So we're not just focusing on CTE. We want the counselors to get it to all the students because it's open to all the students.
And where is it usually held, or does it differ in places?
At the National Guard base.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, it's been there, I think, well, as long as I've been involved, it's been there. So we do have a Southern Arizona Construction Career Days as well. And this year it happens to be that they're both the first week of November. Kind of overlap
Are you
each
going to be
other.
in both places at once?
No, but one of my program specialists
There
is
you
going to
go.
be traveling.
There you go.
Yeah, so Southern Arizona came on, oh gosh, I want to say 8-10 years ago, and we co-sponsored that as well. So they send us information, we disseminate it out to our school districts, and usually that's mostly Southern Arizona.
Is that in
So
Tucson then?
It is in Tucson.
Okay.
Yeah.
What the thing that keeps going through my mind that I want to ask you, Cindy, is what are we not asking you? Like what do you want to tell the audience, knowing that you have got this captive kind of large construction audience that will watch and see this and listen to it? What are you dying to tell that audience about your program and what you're trying to effectuate?
CTE is fabulous. The students that are in CTE are passionate. They have purpose. They understand the reason of the why, the big why. Why do I need this in school? In CTE, they get it. They understand why they need the math, the science, the language.
Well, you just nailed it right there. The math. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'll follow up.
Construction math. Yes. So they get it. It makes sense to them. And when I was teaching it, it's like, okay, students come from algebra and they come into my class and we're talking about the Pythagorean theorem. And then we learn how to do the house, do the roof and stuff. It's been a while since I've been out, but pitches on roof and stuff. And they're like, oh, that's why we need to know that. Yes. So it brings it all together. And then all of those core academics are reinforced in CTE. The thing about CTE is these students, again, they have that direction and they're your future workforce.
Right.
So why are you not coming and wanting to maybe just give them a little hand and lead them right to your place?
Yeah. No, it's great story about math when you said it. So when I was at one of the schools, we were talking about that, and I brought it up again. I said I was the guy in high school that would gripe and say, "Why are we having to learn this? I'm wasting my time. I'll never use this in my life." And then kids were raising their hand. I said, "Okay," and I drew a trench on the board, and I said, "And we're going to put this size pipe in the trench, and how much fill goes in that trench?" And they were like, "Well, I don't know. You just dump it on there." I said, "No, you got to order it and pay for it, and you got to go." So I started going through everything, and I said, "Now, how are you going to figure out how much dirt goes in, how much dirt to order, backfill, or slurry to pour in it, or anything else?" And it was with some of them, it was like the light came on. It went, "Oh." So they're like, "So we don't need to know everything, just something." Forget it. But no, you make that to me was what I got most out of interacting with the students, is that they have somebody there, especially when you have somebody come in and guest speak, or they came to our facility and toured our facility. They came and they can actually put into practice and or see exactly why what they're being taught is what they're being taught. And I actually broke it down even more for them by saying, you don't have to learn this stuff. You can come here and work without knowing that. Okay. You're going to make $10 an hour, let's say. But if you learn all that and you come at the same time this guy does, we'll pay you $14 or $15 an hour. And they were like, I said, so now you're starting to understand it makes a difference what you know and what you don't know. So yeah, I love the whole experience with the students.
Oh yeah, and when they get that and their eyes light up, they're like, "Oh my goodness, yes, this is why."
And they build
Yeah.
things, when they create things with their hands and they get to see a finished product. It's really cool.
Cool.
Gerald, do you have a question? Yeah.
I do.
Okay, go ahead. I just happened to, I thought I maybe saw him raise his hand.
He wants to know when he can walk the dog again.
That's right. That's right. It's so nice outside.
So, Cindy, that was, thank you, because I
Mhm.
wanted to kind of tee it up for you to, again, tell the audience what what those desires are. On the flip side, though, what do you have a very captive audience in our space again. What are you needing? Like, what is your program needing from industry, and how can they get involved?
Okay, so at the local level, they need that one-on-one, the boots on the ground, come into our classroom, provide some training, maybe provide some materials.
Okay.
Occasionally, there's materials. Some districts don't get as much funding as others. Again, our rural ones struggle some days. Provide that. Invite teachers maybe to your facility. We always like to have teachers maybe do externships to learn more skills. They're teaching, but they want to make sure that they're teaching what's new, what's current. One of the big things back to the CTSOs is, could you be judges? They have local competitions. They have regional competitions. We have state competitions, and we're always looking for business and industry to be judges for those competitions.
How or where do the people reach out to find out this information?
So they could contact me
Okay.
at the Arizona Department of Education.
Okay.
We have us under Career and Technical Education. I'm listed there under CTE programs, as well as all my program specialists are listed there. My construction technology science program specialist is Joe Greco. His information is there.
Okay.
He loves to take the industry people and meet the districts and meet those teachers. So he's been doing a great job at connecting from our level. So again, you can contact me or your local school district if you know who the teacher is in your local school district, or the Career and Technical Education Director, CTE Director. Contact them. If you don't, again, contact us and we can help you find out who's close to you.
I think that's a tremendous takeaway, is that, the acronym, set the acronym aside, is knowing that, like, if I have a child and I want to at least expose them to, maybe not guide them, but expose them, just knowing that you can call your district and go, hey, who's the CTE at XYZ?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think a lot of parents even know that exists.
No. And I don't think a lot of businesses understand the impact that they could have
For very little time and money.
very little time and money, and reap tremendous rewards
Yes.
from it.
Intrinsic as well.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
The feel good factor too, apart from the shameless self-promotion.
Oh, no. But, and let's face it, in the business world, that is one of the reasons why we were getting into it, and putting such effort into it.
You want human capital.
We want you to want to come and work here. We'll train you, help you, tell you all these things. But yeah, the way that you feel in helping these students, parents, kids, just the whole thing, it's just really.
Are
really
we,
cool.
Cindy, are we getting more women involved?
I believe so.
Okay.
And that's one of the big things. All of our CT programs are considered either neutral or non-traditional. And so like the construction is non-trad. So we encourage high school females to be in those non-trad. And then, of course, for like culinary, early childhood education, we encourage the males to be in those.
Sure.
So we're wanting all students to be able to have CTE opportunities.
Our,
So,
our
Cindy,
esteemed producer now has a question.
I do have a question. Sorry. So I just think about, when I was in high school or when I was in, elementary school to what I'm hearing now, what I'm learning now. Do you see difference between the interest level between, kids back in, or let's say how many years ago, like 10 years ago versus now? Is there a peak interest difference?
Well, for our overall enrollment, we keep getting enrollment increases. We get more students, of course, but there's
Sure.
more enrollment increases. I was going to say, like this, audio, video, studio production is a CTE program. Film and TV, digital communications, those are all CTE programs. So it's beyond just the trades. Again, everything
I think
from
that's
agriculture to medical assisting. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
broad.
I had no idea when I started reading through the list, and it was like, to have been able to have gotten into a program that teaches you audio and video.
Mhm.
Of course, when I was a kid, we were banging rocks together. I still do that.
Well, I think like
sometimes,
Cindy
but
said, the old paradigm of the vocational,
it was only shop
Yeah,
back in
let's be
ag and
honest.
stuff. That's what it was.
And it hasn't gone away. It's just changed a little bit.
That's
Right.
exactly right. Well, that's awesome. So how do people get in touch with you? You mentioned there's a Department of Education.
Yes.
I can go to the webpage
My
there.
office phone. Yeah. The web page. My office phone is 602-542-4365.
You're
So
going to
if
get
they-
so many calls now.
Well, and
I'd love it.
we'll
I'd love it.
post production. We'll bang it out on LinkedIn and everything
Yeah,
else as
absolutely.
well. So
Absolutely.
hopefully your phone rings off the hook.
I hope so.
Yeah.
And I'm going to kind of push a lot of those over to my program specialist, Joe Greco, because again, he's passionate about construction and connecting everybody as well.
Well, I'm glad you were here today. Joe
Yes.
Greco is not going to be happy that you were here today. Unless he's not busy, and then he will be. But
Oh no, they're all busy.
it was awesome having you.
Well, and thanks to Dawn too for recommending you.
absolutely.
Our old
Absolutely.
colleague.
Thanks, Don.
Yeah, absolutely. So with that, Daryl, why don't you take us out of here? We'll see you next time.
You've been listening to the Mac and Blue Show, brought to you by Torrey Contracting and Blue Wave General Contracting. Be sure to subscribe to the Mac and Blue podcast on your favorite podcast platform. Follow Robert Johnson and JJ Levensky on LinkedIn and Instagram. And tune in live every Monday at 3 p.m. as we continue to introduce you to the people building Arizona. Walt Disney said, "You can dream, create, design, and build the most wonderful place in the world, but it requires people to make the dream a reality." Until next time, make it a great day.